for that purpose, I'm going to disable all of the broadband coverage layers. And I'm going to just simply enable the unserved areas layer. And again, it takes a second to refresh that coverage on the map. But if we zoom in to northern Minnesota, and I forgot to mention too that you can adjust the transparency on all this, on all these layers on top of the roadmap layers. So if you want to make them darker or less transparent, I should say, you can use the slider bar at the bottom to adjust that transparency. So everything that you see here, everything in color in these areas are unserved areas in Minnesota. That means that they do not have the minimum FCC definition of what constitutes broadband, which I think we all would agree is low. But that means that all of these areas do not have at least 768 kilobits per second of downstream connectivity to broadband and 200 kilobits per second upstream. So that's the threshold that the FCC has set for broadband right now. And now that we all have been able to see the National Broadband Plan and see what the goals are that have been set for the country, we think it's highly likely that the FCC is going to change the definition for the minimum threshold for what is true broadband sometime in the next year. And that's probably going to change to at least 4 megabits per second downstream and 1 megabit per second upstream as the floor for what broadband is. And as that definition changes, the map, as you can imagine, it is going to change. And another thing that I need to mention that we're going to be adding to this map in the next 6 months or so are broadband speed data, speed information for each provider at each location across the state, so that you can see which areas have greater than 768 kilobit service and which areas are just barely hovering over that minimum threshold. That's going to be a significant improvement to this map as well. But for now, what you're seeing, all the broadband connectivity information that you see on the map or that you saw on the map earlier exists at that 768 kilobit per second upstream, or excuse me, downstream level and higher. And we'll be adding the speed information soon. But what you're looking at right now are all the areas in the state that do not have broadband service at that 768 kilobit per second downstream rate. And only about 65% of Minnesota's physical geography actually has broadband service. So while at that 768 kilobit per second definition, it's about 65%. That's the physical geography. But if you consider households, how many households are served, about 95%, actually it's more than that, about 97% of households in Minnesota have at least that minimum threshold of broadband service. Yes?
Question.
Sure.
You